Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is me, AD Smurful4. So today, guys, I'm joined with Matt today, and today we'll discuss about why England underperform in international football. So Matt's man, obviously, as you're a fellow England fan, you probably follow the national team a long time now. So you're probably the most educated England fan I have on my channel. So I think you're in a good position to discuss. So before we even get started, give an introduction to the viewers who you are, just in case anyone's watching for the first time on my channel.
So, I have my own channel, the Matt's channel. I'm an England fan, also fan of Bristol Rovers, FC Porto, and a couple of other not very well known own clubs. And I've been watching. I've been a football fan since I was 10. Started watching the South Africa World Cup up that time, which we'll discuss more about England's situation. But at that point, they had some brilliant individuals, but they just couldn't make things work.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Now let's get to the question. Why do you think England underperform in tournaments?
Is this since any particular date, or
let's say, I guess we could say from the time that England won the World Cup, the very first one, which I think was 1960, I want to say, or 1966. Was it 60 or 66?
66.
66. Okay, let's just come from that time on.
Obviously, sooner after that World Cup won't be as straightforward to identify for me. Obviously, I know that at that stage, Brazil still had Pele, and West Germany were an excellent team who actually got their revenge over England in 1997. Obviously, who knows what could have happened in 86. I know in either 78 or 82, England missed out on one of the World Cups. I guess a lot of these are who knows, had Maradona not have cheated, but who knows if John Barnes could have come on sooner. As for the 1990 World Cup, I think that was just fine margins in that semi-final. Similar to the Euros in 96. For 2002 and 2004, England could have done with winning their group, because obviously it would have meant England wouldn't have to have played a very good Brazil team, which was perhaps the reason why England couldn't go too far. And then, had England won the group in 2004 and not bottled it to France right at the end, then they'd have played Greece. And I'd have fancied England's chances against Greece, who did go on to win the tournament. During the golden generation, there were some brilliant players such as Beckham, Lampard. Scholes was still around. Rooney was coming in at that time. You had John Terry, Ashley Cole, Ferdinand, and in defence. At that point, the problem was the mentality. The players wanted to do well for England, but during 2006, 2010 kind of era, the problem was, one of the main problems off the pitch was that the players weren't willing to put their club rivalries aside. I mean, Rio Ferdinand has spoke about the time where during meals there'll be a table of Man United players, a table of Chelsea players, Liverpool, maybe Arsenal, and then and then the rest. I mean, it's hard to get cohesion at that point, and that's one of the things that Gareth Southgate managed to fix, and that has led to England coming to a rise come 2018. For 2010, Fabio Capello was a good manager, but he wasn't a good man manager, and maybe was too restrictive on like certain things, such as not allowing like the players having to stay in their rooms at certain times. He was good defensively, but the attack seemed to be a problem. Roy Hodgson, very good man manager, but not the best coach. And with Gareth Southgate, brilliant man manager. He was very good at preparations, and he missed that penalty in '96 against Germany, and that's actually come to help England beat Colombia on that penalty shootout. I suppose I can talk more about Gareth Southgate in a later section, but I think there's multiple different reasons, ranging from some years it's been the quality, some years it's been the competition, some years it's been the tactics.
Yeah.
There's not always one straightforward answer.
Yeah, that's why it's a very difficult question. You were speaking about the coaches there in particular, and I think that's very interesting because when you look at England in particular, it's one of the best, has one of the best leagues in the world, English Premier League. Everyone loves, a lot of people watch the English Premier League. When you think about the coaches, though, this is something crazy. No English coach has ever won the Premier League, And do you think that actually affects? Do you think that that's actually a really? Because for me, that's crazy. For one of being the best leagues in the world, no English. I mean, your own country's coach has won it.
I mean, it doesn't help, but I think in some tournaments you could have maybe won something without that factor. I know that there were a few years where we had some foreign coaches, such as Fabio Capello and Sven-Göran Eriksson. I think they were the only two examples.
I see.
There was a lot of plays for Sven-Göran Eriksson, but he didn't. But the main problem he had was he didn't fit the system around the players. He had a 4-4-2 with Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, and he put Scholes on the left. Like you could see he was trying to get his best players in, but he wasn't using a system where they would like work efficiently together.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're saying that coaches is one of the problems for England, and maybe that's been one of the reasons why England have underperformed in tournaments. Would you agree? The coaches have been kind of a problem.
That's one of them, and yeah, I would say that's one of the reasons, depending on the tournaments. Like there were some good coaches in the 80s and the 90s, maybe the 70s as well. I'm not too familiar on.
Yeah,
but sometimes I'd say that would be my answer.
Yeah, I do. Do you think Southgate is England's best coach in the 21st century?
That's a good question. I think he's the best man manager, and he's probably the best in terms of maybe preparing and like in the same way he prepared for the penalty shootout against Colombia. He's a very good psychologist. The only other I'm guessing maybe Eddie Howe's probably the best. Potter might be better than him. There's not a lot to choose from in terms of Southgate.
Oh, I
do think he has been getting better since 2021, though.
Yeah, I mean for the national team, not like in the world right now. I don't mean that way. I mean like for the national team.
Of all time, as far as I can, well, I don't know. He isn't the best all-time England national
Yeah,
team
no. I
manager,
mean, like just 21st century.
But in the 21st century, the thing is that there are coaches during that time that are better than him, but haven't done as well.
Yeah. So,
but like Capello, he managed at Real Madrid and I think and a few of the Italian clubs. So, but when it came to the national team, it just didn't work.
Yeah. I do think, though, England haven't been proven. I think with Southgate, you guys have actually been regular in the knockout stage, made at least the quarterfinals, and now you're just trying to do that one step and, obviously win it because, England haven't. I think England have only won one trophy in their history, right? Is the World Cup.
Major trophy, that is.
Yeah, major trophy. Yeah, which is kind of sad. Like, for a nation that's huge, like, one trophy is really sad, one major trophy. I guess we could talk about the golden generation as we were talking about earlier. Do you think the players themselves are also at fault? Because, like I said, you have so many quality players like Steven Gerrard, Lampard, Joe Hart, and etc. And they didn't deliver in international football. Like, they were part of that 2014 debacle, 2010 as well, I think. And it was just
a lot at that stage. A lot of them were getting on. So I suppose they couldn't have had the same impact as, say, in the last decade. But I guess that was just where England were at one of their worst points. And being in a group with Italy and Uruguay didn't help either, even though Italy didn't turn out to be a convincing team either.
Yeah. So I just feel like for me, the players have underperformed, like especially for the golden generation. Like you expect so much more from this team than they didn't even reach a single final. And I just think it's shocking. Have they even reached a semifinal?
Who, the golden generation?
Yeah, of England.
I know that they haven't.
What's the farthest they reached?
Quarterfinals.
Wow. And which year was that? And tournament?
They got to the 2006 World Cup quarterfinal and lost out on penalties. And then they went to another. They also went to the World Cup quarterfinal in 2002. And they did get to the quarterfinals in Euro 2004, but that was with one less knockout round.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Not even a single semifinal appearance. Like, we all criticize Belgium and Croatia's one. At least they made
in 2012 as well, but that was also a 16-team tournament.
Yeah. It's just sad, man. Like, I think the players have let the national team down. And remember how you were talking about earlier, the rivalries between the players actually kind of affected the national team? And look at Spain national team, for instance, for the 2010 World Cup. There's a huge rivalry between Barcelona and Real Madrid. They were still united together for international football, and they were still able to work their differences out, like the likes of Ramos and Piqué,
Yeah, that I'd say that is the sort of some of the players in terms of not trying to put their rivalries aside and put their country, like they're of course very dedicated to their clubs. Gerrard's played for Liverpool almost his whole career. A lot of the Man United players played for Man United the whole way through. Lampard had a long time at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So you can understand, but you don't agree with it at the same time. But also the managers should, as Gordon Eriksson, Capello, and I imagine Hodgson a little bit as well, should have been able to recognize it and do like what Southgate did in terms of how he unified the team.
Yeah. Do you think the managers were like very scared of the players, that they thought that like their players are so good that they want to listen to me, like like that kind of thing? Like, Obviously, I'm just kind of just throwing this out there. I'm not really like. I just want to hear what's your opinion? Why weren't they able to control the players?
I don't know so much about Capello because he was giving these strict, unnecessary rules at times. But I'd imagine Sven Gordon Eriksson might have been quite lenient. Roy Hodgson's a good manager, and of course we've seen that with Ben. The Ben Foster example comes to mind when he managed him better than Fabio Capello did. But I guess Hodgson, of course, I don't think he was on top of his game management style, and even last year Rashford had come out and said that the training wasn't as the training under Hodgson before Gareth Southgate came in was more complacent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's talk about something you haven't addressed, and I think this is something that's kind of huge, is the mentality. I think mentality for me is something that England have never really proven, and is that it feels like all the time whenever they lose these kind of tournaments, they're like, oh, they were the better team. They were the better team, like we didn't deserve to lose, And it's that kind of mentality that I think a lot of national teams have, like look at Germany. I know Germany right now don't have the mentality anymore. They're obviously not, but I'm talking about the old Germany, then obviously Italy as well, Do you think mentality is a big issue? Because I think it is for England, personally.
For England, I'd say so. We're during the Roy Hodgson time. There was, as I said, there was complacency there. Within that golden generation, where the players were more into they of course had their club allegiances. I think from what I was hearing from Gerard, Lampard, and Ferdinand, the impression I got was they wanted to succeed with England, but it was more they were looking at it from a solo effort rather than doing it with a team.
Yeah. And maybe getting back to the players, maybe they were so arrogant and that they felt like, you know what? We're so good players. We don't really need to turn for the national team. We could just do it ourselves automatically, like club level, And it's just not the same,
I was thinking not quite to the point of selfishness, but still kind of to the point where they don't think they think of it without bearing the players from rival teams in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I was being exaggerating there. I'm just saying is that I'm just trying to put it like I'm just trying to say is that I'm just trying to say possibly. I don't mean like for sure there. But yeah, I just think that is interesting because for me, man, England, man, I guess we could look ahead to the future now. So for this next Euros, man, do you think England could actually win this? Because for me, this is a great opportunity. A lot of European nations.
Top two at minimum, I would say.
Yeah,
I feel good about this England tournament. Tournament.
Yeah, and a lot of European nations don't look great right now at the moment, and I feel like for me, England have to capitalize upon this opportunity.
Yeah.
Then going further ahead, we have the World Cup 2026. Obviously, that might be a bit too soon to discuss about this. Do you think England could win that, or you kind of want to see what happens in Euros first, and then you'll see?
Well, from the Euros, we'll find out whether Gareth Southgate stays on or not. I guess seeing as you're transitioning to the future, it might be a good time to talk a bit about Southgate. So the first tournament he managed was 2018. Before all that, well, first he had an interim spell, then he got the job permanently. I wasn't sold by Southgate before the World Cup, but then he did do well in terms of the memories. That team obviously wasn't a contender to win that World Cup because you had in the midfield wing back five, you had Ashley Young on the left, you had Jesse Lingard, Dele Alli in the more advanced midfield areas with Henderson sitting behind. Trippier is a good player, so I won't really speak about him as in the same vein as Young, Lingard, and Ali. The depth wasn't that great at the time either. You did have Cahill, who was centre back that could have easily been in that back three, and Rashford was on the bench, but Vardy was past his prime. You had Fabian Delph, Danny Welbeck in that World Cup squad, Danny Rose. Loftus-Cheek, to be fair, was good, and maybe he could have played instead of Dele Alli for some of the games. They clearly weren't. It was. I mean, Seb mentioned on a previous debate show that England were in transition, and you could sort of tell by the selection.
Yeah.
But I think that 2018 was probably a much better example of the path England had compared to 2000 and the Euro 2020, which I think at that stage, England had done something that they'd never done before, which was get to the World Cup final. Euros final, sorry. So at least at that point, they were competing. The issue was for that final was, the main one was Declan Rice having to be subbed off, because as much as England were kind of transitioning to losing grip of the game, Rice was the only one to disrupt Italy, actually bring the ball forward whilst we were 1-0 up. And then when he had to get subbed off, Henderson and Phillips were struggling to get the ball back. And Italy, of course, were improving more in the midfield. But that team as a whole, it kind of wasn't what it was before Bellingham had come in. Mason Mount was also playing most of the games. So, but come the 2022 World Cup, is not only this team could go far, but they can actually go far playing well.
Yeah.
And who knows what could have happened had Kane scored a second penalty, or Rashford had scored that close range free kick at the end.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I think this is had England been playing the same way as they did in the Euros, then it probably would have been a good time to sack Southgate. But seeing as England were playing well, it gave me the sense, and maybe others, that we'll give you the Euros. We know how we should be playing, and you got to win in the tournament. And I think Southgate himself said he'll only stay if they win the Euros.
Yeah, I just think that for England, I think, like as you said, Gareth Southgate was a transition period, 2018, 2020, and now you're finally seeing what Southgate is capable of doing. It takes some time to adjust, and that's the thing. Another coach I would look at is Scaloni. He's also kind of similar to Southgate in a way, where his first couple of years it wasn't so great. The 2019 Copa America, losing to Brazil in that controversial fashion, and then obviously. The following Copa America, draw against Chile, and then they're able to grind their way through and take time, And I just think that for England, I think they have the mentality now. They have that mentality to attack. My issue with England was that in that Euro finals, I think you guys went so defensive in that final, which was really, I don't think was a good idea at all, And I think you guys have learned from that, Sometimes you need to make a mistake to take two steps forward,
I mean, it kind of did work because Italy's attack was weak in that final.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't.
But probably could have taken advantage whilst England still had the lead.
Yeah. And I just think for me, we saw in the 2022 World Cup, England were much more attacking. They weren't defensive at all. Like, they were very attacking in all their games. Even against France, I would still say they were the better team. France just had more.
Yeah.
They just had that winner. They just had that clutch gene in them. That's why the difference. So I think for England, for them to win the Euros, they need some clutch players, and I think that's going to come down to mentality, as I said earlier. Who at the big games can step up? They're not playing so well. They can produce a magic moment. Who do you think on this team can do that?
And I think a number of them can do that. So Foden, Rashford, Kane, that hasn't always stepped up in the biggest of biggest games. But I mean, even him scoring that first penalty against France counts for something. Some people might say Saka. Bellingham has a very strong head on him, so he's got leadership for his age. So he's very strong mentally. Who knows? He could even come up with a goal from nowhere. Of course, Trent Alexander and Trippier are good on free kicks. I don't know if we will be seeing them as much, but there are players.
Yeah. And I just realized something. With Bellingham joining Real Madrid, he can bring that mentality from Real Madrid to England, because Real Madrid have that winner's mentality. They want to win everything. They're the champions. Do you think that could have an impact on the national team?
I think so. I don't know to what degree, but the fact that they're pretty much the system and the players are like kind of fixed now. I think that will help, because you did have David Beckham and Michael Owen that were playing at Real Madrid, although there were, like, when it came to the England team, there were some weaknesses in like England's system, like in the 4-4-2 there wasn't a proper left midfielder, and not even proper wide player after Beckham had left, and I think England only played 4-3-3 against Ecuador in 2006 during that golden generation.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll quickly round things off here. Let me ask you one final question, though. Do you think this is England's best squad in the 21st century, taking everything in consideration? Obviously not, like, I'm just looking as a result, as a collective. Like, have they performed better? Because I would say, in terms of, look, obviously the golden generation is probably better on paper than these players, but I think these players have achieved more than what the golden generation has, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, performance-wise, they are. It's definitely EVs out of all the squads in this century. Yes, a golden generation has some very good individuals. Performances haven't been up to what it should be, but when I think of the squads, the backups are probably not as good as what England have in 2020 onwards.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Like I said, man. I guess to summarize for you guys, I think there's different reasons. The coaches, the players, the mentality, the rivalries. Maybe somewhat arrogance, maybe a little bit. And so yeah, like I said, guys, just a quick overview of this. So, like I said, man, hopefully England could win something, because I want to see them win something. It's been a long time since they won nothing. A lot of people do not like England. They want them to win something. I actually want them to win something, so we could get some change. To see how the world reacts. And like I think they've served a long time without winning. So, like I said, guys, please check out Matt's channel, England fan. I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll leave a link in the title as well, so you can check out his channel. Give him a subscription; that'll be greatly appreciated. And also follow him on Twitter as well. I'll let him give his Twitter handle.
Yeah, you can find me at Masters Hack 9, where you might see me interact with AD and various other personalities that he interacts with.
Yeah. So yeah, man, thank you, man, for coming on, man. It was a great pleasure, man. And we'll see how this video ages. Maybe maybe England will win the next tournament. We'll see, man. We'll see. All right, man. Thanks for coming on, man. Do appreciate it. And guys, to like and subscribe to my channel as well. Also, comment out your thoughts, comment section below. Remember to become a member of the channel for only 99 cents to get members privileges. That's listed in the join button. And yeah, make sure you guys also turn on notification bell to be notified whenever we go live and upload. All right, see you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.